Hello, Fangoria. I'm Alex Noyer. I am thrilled today because I get to speak to one of my very dear friends, a legend of our crazy business of making horror movies and telling crazy stories, Renny Harlin, a fellow Finn, a director who's brought us Cliffhanger, Long Kiss Goodnight, Die Hard 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, one of my favorites, Deep Blue Sea, and more. And I can't wait to talk about what he's done and the new movies that he has planned for us. And we are here with his partner in production and partner in life, Johanna Harlin, who shares this journey of making those new movies with him. And together they are really ambitious and, celebrating the fact that Rennie's back in horror. And we're going to talk about genre. So, first of all, welcome. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
Where do I start? I want to start where when horror movies took you from Finland to the U.S. How, as a Finnish filmmaker living in the U.S., did you get spotted from that?
Well, there's many ways to try to make it in the world, especially when you come to Finland, which is a country of 5 million people. And I thought, like, okay, I'm not Aki Kaurismäki, so I'm not going to make some fancy art movie and convince everybody that I'm a genius. But I got to make something splashy that tells Hollywood and the world that I have a visual sense and I can tell a story and I can blow up a lot of stuff and make it with not too much money. So I made a little action movie called Born American in Finland, and that became kind of my calling card. Then I went to Hollywood, didn't know anybody, didn't know nothing. I just landed there with this VHS tape of my movie and tried to get people to watch it. Everything went wrong. I lost my money. I lost my credit cards. I lost my integrity, but I didn't lose my passion ever. And one day, by coincidence, this one producer happens to get the tape from somebody, puts it in in his machine at night, watches it, and says, "So what's this? I hear this was made for like $1 million, and this is a pretty visual and exciting action movie. I got to meet this guy." I meet him, and we talk, and he says, "I have this horror movie called Prison, and I need a director for it. And do you think you could make it for $1.3 million?" And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I love horror. My mom took me to see Rosemary's Baby when I was 6 years old. And then we went to see Psycho. And that was the beginning of everything. I'm a huge horror fan. And he said, "Well, I'm going to make you my next John Carpenter." And this producer was Irvin Yablans, who discovered John Carpenter. And I don't know if I became the next John Carpenter, but I became something. He gave me the opportunity. He took a chance on me. And that's what I think great producers do. They see something and they said, "I believe in your vision. I believe in you. And I want you to do this movie." And so that was my first movie in America, Prison, a horror film. I have to tell a quick story about casting, because I saw 85 actors for the lead role of the movie. We didn't have money to hire anybody famous, but we saw every TV star and every possible guy. And I said, "No, I need to find my young James Dean for this part." And in walks a complete unknown, a guy who's never made a movie before, who's just, as green as grass. And I'm like, "God, please let this actor know how to act, because he is the type I'm looking for." He reads for me. I called the producer in Irvin. I said, "Irvin, you got to see this guy act." Irvin is like, "Who the hell is this?" I said, "His name is Viggo Mortensen. I don't know who he is, but we got to cast him." And that was Viggo's first movie.
Oh, so I love it. See, this is where horror genre kind of create this, they always say that horror directors, producers are mad scientists trying to create something new and unearth the potential. So this story is especially about that. And that led you on to meddling with Freddy Krueger.
Yes, it's like everything you do is like a step forward, and you have big dreams. Of course, when you're a young director, I was in my mid-20s. I make Prison. Like, I didn't have illusions that I was making Citizen Kane, but of course you think that you're pretty much making the best thing since sliced bread. And then when things go wrong and the production company goes bankrupt and the distribution company goes this and that and blah blah blah, and your movie never gets released in theaters, you want to kill yourself, and you're just like, I saw this at the Man's Chinese Theater on the big screen in front of millions, and you get depressed. But then you have to just keep forging ahead. And then I found out that New Line Cinema, they were making Nightmare on Elm Street 4. And I was a huge fan of the series, and I just decided I'm going to do it. And I went there. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have an appointment. I didn't talk to any assistant. I just found out where their offices were on Robertson in Beverly Hills. And I went there and I said, I want to see Bob Shea, the head of the company. And they said, who are you and do you have an appointment? I said, I'm Renny Harlin. I don't have an appointment, but I need to talk to him about this movie. They threw me out. I went back 6 times, and finally I was able to get into Bob's office. And by that time, I had made this kind of a pile of storyboards of all the nightmares in that movie. The problem and the lucky break for me at that point was that the writer's strike had just started.
Okay.
And they didn't have a script, but they had a release date, typical in Hollywood. Release date in August, we are in February. They don't have a script, they don't have a director, they don't have nothing. And I'm like, I have all the story, all the nightmares figured out here for you. I have one where, the kids will be on a pizza and Freddy eats them. And I have one where there's a naked girl in the waterbed. And Bob Shea looks at me like, in a pizza, in a waterbed? I'm like, picture it, it's gonna be awesome. And somehow I won him over. And in the end, I just wore him down. And he was like, we don't have a director, we don't have a script, we gotta start shooting. And I said, don't worry about it. One of the PAs they had was Mike DeLuca, who is now head of Warner Brothers. And I said, Mike and I, we will write the script. We'll all the stuff that they say in between the nightmares. We'll create that. We'll write it in the mornings and at lunch breaks and so on. And I have all the nightmares already figured out here, so it's going to be awesome. Trust us. I was like, well, I don't have time to think about this anymore. Just go and do it. And throughout that movie, I was so scared. I saw Bob Shea standing in the shadows on the soundstage and watching me do this stuff. And I was convinced that I knew what I was doing. But at the same time, I was convinced that he hated me and was going to fire me any day. But I made the movie. And until our first test screening, he was so suspicious of me. And he was like, have I just sacrificed my biggest franchise with this Finnish guy from out of nowhere? We do the first test screening at Warner Hollywood, and the audience explodes. They are screaming, they are stomping their feet, they are laughing at the right places, they are screaming at the right places. And Bob Shea turns to me. I still get emotional because it was the greatest moment of my career. He said, Renny, you did it. And rest is history.
It's my favorite of the franchise. Even when we finally got to meet, the pizza of soul and the fact that this was the first Freddy, the first movie, we call them Freddy here in France, and I was like where I grew up, and the first movie where he dies not in a ball of light but actually being torn apart was magical, and it was so. Again, thank you for that part of the franchise because that was very important. So horror really brought you to Hollywood. It made a huge impression and led you on to direct major action movies. Obviously, Die Hard 2 was huge, cliffhanger, Long Kiss Goodnight. Still, every year people talk to me about this movie when we talk about how to take a shot of vodka. And it's, all this is amazing. And then obviously venturing in all those genres. And now you're back in horror. When you told me, I was so excited about it. And obviously back in horror, and in great company. So before I ask you how it feels to be back in horror, I'm going to ask you how it feels to be working in horror.
It's amazing. It's amazing to be able to work together. And the best thing about horror is the imagination. You can just, and his imagination, it's like crazy. The sky is the limit. So you can actually do whatever you want. So that's the best part. And just to get people's reactions and get people to feel something, that's just the best thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And so how does it feel to be back in horror?
It's very exciting. And like Johanna said, we make movies we don't make them for ourselves. We make them for the people. And the best feeling for a filmmaker, which I'm sure you share, you being a great director yourself, is to see people react. People go to the theater to cry or laugh or be scared or fall in love or somehow purge their feelings and so on. And when you see them react, it's the best thing in the world. And I'm not ashamed to say this, and I'm sure Hitchcock felt the same way, the master, when he did the scene in Psycho or whatever in his movies. It's like to see the audience go like this and grab their seats and to gasp or laugh at the right place. It's the great. You feel, I guess the closest I could imagine that feeling, I could imagine it's like being a rock star on a stage in front of 80,000 people on Wembley Stadium, and you say, "How you all feeling?" and they go, "Yeah." It's that kind of a thing. It's like, as an entertainer, we can call ourselves artists or entertainers, but the bottom line is that we are in a business of making people feel and experience and enjoy, and forget about their worldly worries for a couple of hours. And to be in horror, where three things that I love. One is I love visual filmmaking, and that's why for me, I don't draw such a huge line between horror and action, because in both, it's the camera work, it's the angles, it's the lighting, it's the atmosphere, everything that you create to have a maximum impact on the audience with your different angles and so on. And then creating the emotion, whether it's fear or joy or victory or whatever it is. I think I have to thank my mother for the fact that, she introduced me to horror films when I was very young. I love to scare people and see how they react to it. And it's, as a horror film director, it's like you first, it starts with the script and the casting and having the right people play the right parts, and then figure out where the camera is, the timing of the editing, the music, the sound effects, all that. It's such a joy. And there are no rules. Nobody can say, like, you always have to shoot a horror film like this. There's famous stories of, like, Spielberg when he did the scene in Jaws when Richard Dreyfuss is diving under the boat and the head comes out of the boat. Like, he shot it like 5 times in his editor's swimming pool, over and over and over again, because he couldn't get the timing right. Yeah. But then when you get the timing right, it's important. Like when you get the audience, you're like, yeah, got you. And it's about, what I love about it, it's like sometimes you lead them a certain path and then turn everything around and completely surprise them. And sometimes you lead them down the path and give them exactly what they expect. And in both cases, if you do it right, they thank you for it.
And we have the most passionate horror community. The fans they appreciate everything you just described so much, and that's why obviously our audience from Fangoria is like, going to be so excited to hear about.
Love Fangoria, love you guys.
And so let's talk about what's new. Let's talk first about The Strangers. We saw the first installment. You're reeling us in. So where are we now? We're looking forward to part 2, and. Tell us.
Do you want to tell a little bit about how it all started and how we got into it and what we did?
It's so exciting. The number 2 is coming out soon, but the funny thing is we shot all the 3 movies at the same time. So that was challenging and fun and kind of a new experiment, which turned out really good. And yeah, the fans, they are so dedicated and so excited. So that's the best part. Everybody is really excited about the next one to come, and so are we. And it's going to be scarier, crazier. It's, yeah.
And I want to add to that, just this is not in defense. We kind of knew, because we had a plan for we don't even call it a trilogy anymore, because we think there's going to be more movies. We call it just the Strangers series. But we had a plan, and part of the plan was to sort of recreate the original movie in the first chapter. And we knew from the get-go, from the script stage, we said, we can't win. It's impossible, because the first movie, the original movie, was a great movie in many levels, and no matter what we do, we're gonna get kind of murdered by the fans. Whether it's the story, whether it's the acting, whether it's the shooting, whatever, it's like people are going to say, like, what is this? They're copying the original. But we took the calculated gamble because we wanted to tell the audience that, okay, we're basing this series of movies on the concept of the original, but then we're going to take you somewhere completely else. But we can't do it without laying the groundwork first. So we said, we accept that you're going to murder us, but we're going to reward you after it. And so the response, the response to the first movie was great. Of course, the sort of OG fans were like, oh, this is BS. But we knew it was going to happen. We said, okay, thank you. That's okay. But just be patient. And then the new people who didn't know the movie, they were excited and they loved it. And we knew that we can't please the critics, but we didn't make the movie for critics. And now with the second movie, we are going in a completely new direction. And that movie is coming out now, September 26th, 3,000 theaters in America and all around the world from Lionsgate. And the third movie We are just finishing post-production, and I'm going to let you in on a little insider information, is that we also learned a lot from the first movie and the response, and we really studied the fan response and the ordinary people's response to it, and what they like and what they didn't maybe like and what they want, and we realized that the blessing and the curse of shooting 3 movies at the same time is like, you don't have to wait years and the actors changing and getting older and the world changing in terms of like making a sequel one of these days. You actually like capture them right at their prime at the same time. The curse is that you learn things as you put those movies together, and you realize like, okay, we thought this was the way to go, but we have to take a little bit of a left turn here. So I'm going to just tell honestly that we did some additional. Okay, now there's a train. So I'm
Sooner than I thought.
so that's all the information I wanted to say.
That's it.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
So we did some additional shooting for the second movie, and we realized certain things. For example, we realized that the audience was very curious about the strangers, and where they come from and what their backstory is, who they are, and not literally, not being literal about it, but giving certain hints and giving background to them. That was really something that the audience was craving for, and we didn't realize that. So we did some additional shooting for the second movie, and then once we put the second movie together and we looked at it, we felt like also based on this, the third movie needs a little bit more and a little bit of different angles. So we just actually quite recently did some additional shooting for the third movie, which I think just worked out beyond our expectations, and like the journey where we take you in terms of our main characters and in terms of the strangers, I promise it's going to blow your socks away, and I can't wait to show it to the world.
I mean, we have an audience waiting, and I'm waiting, and when you messaged me to let me know that you were on board with the strangers, I don't know if you remember, my response was like, I love this franchise. If I can help in any way, let me know. But first of all, I was so excited for you because it is amazing. Now, let's talk sharks a little. Deep Blue Sea, obviously a huge, huge fan favorite. I remember when I was in the Navy, the tape of Deep Blue Sea that I brought to the boat, I could not even get it back because everybody wanted to watch it every other day. So a lot of fans. But you're not done with sharks now, are you?
No, and it's a kind of a dichotomy, because I'm a huge lover of the ocean and all its creatures and work in shark preservation and all that. So I'm not, my point is not to say like, oh, sharks are bad and dangerous and so on. But if you look at Deep Blue Sea, it was all about genetically altered sharks and what humans did to them. Deep Water is really kind of a throwback to 1970s disaster movies. It has one of the biggest plane crashes you've ever seen. The story is basically, I can tell you, it's a plane, big passenger plane, on its way from Los Angeles to Shanghai, crashes on the way in the middle of the ocean on this reef. Those who survive consider themselves lucky until they realize that they are surrounded by sharks. And there I wanted to kind of borrow from that great story from Jaws, where they talk about the USS Indianapolis and that horrible story of thousands of sailors in the water and most of them being eaten by sharks. But it's not because they are bad sharks. It's because, if you were airdropped in the middle of the jungle somewhere, there's going to be wild animals there, and they hunt for a living and they eat things. That's basically the premise of Deep Water. And
I hate to say that it's a disaster movie, because sometimes I think it's more than a disaster movie. There is a plane crash, there is sharks, but also it's a character-driven drama. It's really emotional. There is amazing characters. You just care about them. Everybody is crying that sees this movie, I promise. So it's a really beautiful story.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, because it is not just like, but there I was emulating one of my childhood favorites, which is the original Poseidon Adventure. I wanted to create this group of characters that you truly care about and see the journey they take. So we loved making that movie, and that movie is finishing post-production now. It has almost 2,000 visual effects shots, and the movie is coming out this October. also in wide release everywhere. So
that's so exciting. You're gonna have a busy fall.
Yeah.
And but let's because we can't keep you out of the water. Clearly, heard something about an orca?
well, it's it's something like, I feel like in my career, it's like they can't keep me away from snow and they can't keep me away from water. I don't know. It's like I want this punishment on myself, but because it's not easy to work in the water. But I came across this project almost a year ago. We read it, and then we've been developing the script, and we found it very interesting because this is about orcas, also known as killer whales, which a lot of people maybe don't know, but orcas, they eat great whites for breakfast. I mean, these are the most powerful predators in the ocean. And lately, in the last 5 years, there's been over 700 incidents, mainly on the coast of Spain, Gibraltar, in that area, where orcas have attacked boats, like sailboats and other boats. And there's been a lot of studies to it, and people are trying to understand, is this global warming? Is this overfishing? Is this the change of temperature in the water? Is this the migration patterns? What's going on? And because, by nature, again, orcas are not the bad guys, but this has been going on. And we wanted to take our kind of angle to this and do a movie that is not a shark movie, but it's an ocean-going movie. And it's a very, very scary journey of people who take a journey on a big sailboat, and then things start happening. And we are now we're just starting pre-production. We are going in a couple of weeks. We are going to Spain, start location scouting. We have a great team there. We are actually today, I believe, we are announcing one of our stars. I can't tell you yet because it's a secret, but we have major stars in this movie, and this is a big movie. This is a very big, epic movie. So if you like water, if you like things in the water that go boom, then this is something for you.
I was a big fan of the movie Orca, and it feels like obviously an eternity ago, and that's not a topic that's been revisited, so I'm very, very excited. Johanna, producing obviously is a journey. I've been a producer for long enough to know, and I know that you're producing obviously alongside Renny, and also acting. Do you want to tell us a little bit an insight into this journey through filmmaking and behind and in front of camera?
Yeah. I've been acting and I love acting. Now recently I've been more into producing, I think, but I love acting. I would love to act more. And and in horror movies, I've been acting in a horror movie as well. I love to really kind of, as an actor, feel all the emotions and to relate with the audience. They can feel the emotions I am playing. So that's something I enjoy in horror movies. Yeah, I hope I can act more, and I love both.
Well, how does it feel to produce with me or for me?
Yeah, that's a very good question. How does it feel to produce?
Am I a crazy director?
I love to produce with you, and I've learned so much with you, and it's amazing to be your wife and a producer partner with you. I feel like we work really well together. And,
that's an understatement.
Yeah.
You get to boss him around.
Yes, that's the best part.
and like, if I may say, like, to give this interview a kind of a not too saccharine ending, but an honest ending, is that obviously I've been doing this for decades, making movies, and I've had my ups and downs, like most filmmakers do. I even went to China for 6 years to kind of get a little speed there, made 3 movies there, then came back, then we met, we got married, we have now 2 little kids, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and you've changed my life. And I promised I won't get emotional, but I will, because you come to a point in your career, like, I've always had my passion, I've always loved what I do, but I always dreamed of having something else, something more, and movies always have been my first love. And I've been a hard worker. But you have brought something out of me that is more than I ever knew that I had. And the kind of sensitivity and kindness and love that I know has made my movies better. And the next movie, I know that I'm now right on the cusp. The next movies that people will see from me and from us it's more than Renny Harlin 2.0.
Thank you. That's really beautiful.
No, but it's all thanks to you.
No, but I can
You've changed
see
me
it
as a
too.
human being, and you are my sounding board for everything, for every idea, every thought, everything, how I do things, and I feel stronger and smarter and more inspired and motivated than I've felt in decades.
Thank you. No, and I think it's good to have like a women's perspective to all these.
For sure.
Yeah, and
For sure.
opinions.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, that's an amazing way to end this interview. I mean, my wife supports me so much in my work as a director, and as fellow Finnish directors, it's good to have a rock in your life. So it's wonderful to
it.
hear. So there you go. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for taking the time, telling us everything about what's coming and about your amazing career. FANGORIA, there you have it. Finnish filmmaking, Finnish horror filmmaking is live and well. Finns are kicking ass in horror and not taking names, but swimming with sharks. So thank you so much. Tune in tomorrow for more, and scare you later.
Thank you,
Thank
and thank
you.
you, Alex.
Thank you.